That's right. Hey, Bosco. Bosco's down there. Oh, you're a dozer, though. There's Bosco. There's Bosco, yes. Oh, yes. So, where's the camera? Camera's right there. I do that every time. So what's going on? So my wife works at the University of Utah Hospital. She works at the CNC clinic, the Clinical Neurosciences Center. It's right there. And I drop her off and pick her up every day because it's just time that we get to spend together. You know, that's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. And I bring the puppies because they love it when the mama comes out. And so we're just sitting here waiting for the mama. Aren't we, guys? That's right. That's right. Where's Bosco? There's Bosco. He's looking out the window there, trying to see when she's going to come. Ah, that's right. Oh my gosh. People. People. Oh my gosh. It's people. They freak out when people come. Freak out. They love people. They are such people dogs. So what does my wife do? She is an X-ray technologist. So that's the person who takes X-rays whenever you, well, need an X-ray, right? She had a pretty interesting path to get there. She was going to college and so on and so forth, and she finally decided this is what she wanted to do. So she went to Salt Lake Community College, guys, and there she earned, you need to have an associate's degree or something or another to get into the X-ray program. So she went ahead and did that. And then she got in the X-ray program, and during that time you end up earning another associate's, right? So she actually earned 2 associates through Slick. And she already had another associate's before that, so the gal has 3 associates. Then she had to do 2 years of clinicals. So basically where you work for free, right? You work at the hospital for free. That's clinicals. But then she got on with you. That's where she did her clinical. She made a good impression. So when you do internships, by the way, an internship is just basically a company test driving a future employee. So if you can get an internship, look for them. It's not a bad idea. So she did that, but then she wanted to go on and get her bachelor's degree. So she got a bachelor's degree in radiological sciences, and then following the bachelor's degree, she got a master's degree. And she just finished that master's degree like last month. We're talking December of 2020. So she is no longer in school. This is the first time in 6 years that she's not been in school. But you know what? It's a good example of how it is never too late. Okay? She's my age, right? And yet she went off and got a new career, an associate's, a bachelor's, and a master's, all in 6 to 8 years, I guess, and has a fantastic career underway. So that's kind of cool. So here at the Clinical Neurosciences Center, what they do, well, there's basically 2 clinics in here, okay? One clinic deals with brains. So one clinic deals with brains, and then the other side, they deal with spinal cords. Now, technically, my wife does x-rays for both, but you know what? The brain people don't do a lot of x-rays. They do very few x-rays. The spinal people, though, the back people, they do a ton of x-rays. So she's basically a dedicated x-ray technologist for spines. So she's doing full spine. She does scoliosis. She does lumbar. She does C-spine. She does T-spine. She does adenoid, all kinds of things. Things that I don't know. It's not my world. I don't know anything about that stuff. But that's what she does all day, and it's always kind of fun because on our way home, we drive home together, and I always get to say, "So, any good stories?" And every once in now, I want to be clear. She never, ever, ever shares any personal information of her patients. A, that's illegal, and B, she's way too classy for that. But whenever a patient is particularly fun or has a good story or fun, has something going on, she'll always share that. I won't tell the whole story, but I'll just give you an example. I said, "So, any good stories?" And she goes, "Well, I did have a guy come in, and he really had a bad back and injury and all this sort of stuff, and I said, 'Oh my gosh, what happened to you?' And he said to her, 'Okay, now, in my defense, I was drunk at the time.'" Well, now, you can just imagine where the story goes from there. It involved chickens, okay? In my defense, I was drunk at the time, and it involved chickens. Oh my gosh. Yeah, she gets some fantastic stories, and it's a lot of fun. Oh, here's the Bosco. This is the Bosco. So the one you've been seeing mostly, that's Dozer, and that one is Bosco. Hey, Bosco. Yeah. Oh, and Bosco sees a person running. That drives him nuts. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, a person running. Oh, that drives them crazy when somebody runs by. Bosco belongs to my son. They're only like 6 months old. These two are 6 months old. We got them 4 months ago. So Bosco belongs to my son, and Dozer, that's right, you're the Dozer. Dozer belongs to me and Susan, my wife. My son first got Bosco, and we fell in love with him. He's so stinking cute, and so we wanted one too. Hey, you know what? You know when they say 2 dogs are easier than one? It's true. Oh my holy heck, 2 dogs is easier than one because they entertain each other, they keep each other company, they play together. They're just so much happier together and put less pressure on you. So, yeah, I never believed it. I always thought that was a line that dog lovers fed people because they're dog lovers. But no, it's really 2. True. 2 is better than 1. Isn't that right? Yeah, whatever. It doesn't care. So she ought to be coming out real soon. Is she going to come out soon, guys? Let's see. What's up? Yeah, another 5 minutes. So, kind of fun. All right. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and get this thing started. And there we are. We're going to get it started. Okay. Hope you had fun with that. Taylor says, best start ever. Very cool. Glad to hear that. Hey, do me a favor. Let me know if you can see and hear me okay. I'm having to use a new mic today. Well, not a new mic, a different mic. This one. It's a really nice mic. Don't get me wrong. It's super nice. But my wireless mic, it didn't take the charge that I gave it. Thank you, Taylor. Fantastic. Okay. Yeah, my wireless mic, you have to charge it. And I really thought I charged it. And it said, no, you didn't. So I'll have to figure out what the deal is. Which means we're just using this thing. So we can't do the whiteboard today, but hopefully everything's okay. And it's a good example, by the way. So guys, I don't know if you've ever noticed. Let's see if we can get that in focus. There we go. That's my Batman ring. Okay. Yeah, I wear a Batman ring. I wear a Batman ring for a whole bunch of reasons. But the reason that I like to tell business folks, right, is if you think about Batman's superpower, okay, he's uber smart. He's a great detective. He's uber rich. That doesn't hurt. But I believe that his superpower is contingency planning. And what I mean by that is if you read any Batman comic, right? So this is the combination of like some really famous Batman comics, The Dark Knight Returns. This is the 10th anniversary edition. I read this one because I have the originals, but I don't want to ruin the original. So I keep those in a box and never look at them. But I read this one. If you read any Batman comic, you kind of notice that what he does is he goes into a situation and gets his butt kicked. I mean, he gets beat up real bad, and he just escapes with his life by the skin of his teeth every single time. Well, he's not just there being a human punching bag. He is collecting data. He is assessing his opponent. He is figuring things out, right? Yeah, now talk, right? And so he then goes back to his Batcave and figures out how to take on this opponent, how to really deal with it. And so then he goes back into the situation, and now he's ready. And so whenever he gets out of a situation, or whenever he, triumphs over the bad guy and so forth, it's because he has foreseen problems. He has foreseen what could possibly go wrong or what his opponent would do, which is contingency planning. On Monday, not your live stream, but a live stream I did afterwards, my system fell apart. So I couldn't show my PowerPoint or anything, but luckily I have a whiteboard. And so basically we went old school and we did everything on the whiteboard. And today my microphone didn't work, my wireless, no problem. I've got this bad boy. So just a little life tip, contingency planning, anticipate what can go wrong, put in place a solution, a contingency in case it does go wrong. So when it does go wrong, you just go, I don't care, flip a switch and you're back on track. Okay, there's the old man tip for the day, right? So with that, let's go ahead and get started. And by the way, you guys have already got some awesome comments. Anybody who says my puppies are cute, you get an awesome comment, right? And then Carlos came in and talked about Batman, totally. So we have Taylor, we have Carlos, we have Jeremy with us. So, all right, we're already at 3. You know what happens. You want to get these to 10. And as many as you can get to 10 as possible, the better. Okay. Okay, I'm going to call something out. I don't, one of the things I said in our lecture on Monday is good business communication doesn't spin. You don't try to make bad news sound like good news. And you don't try to hype somebody up beyond what it's really worthy of. And so why am I saying this? Well, I'm not going to spin it. Structure and format and structure, probably not the most fascinating topic in the world. All right? I'd be a fool to try to trick you and say, oh, this is going to be amazing. The thing is, though, my teaching style, one of the things I really like to do is try to find ways that we look at things that we think we understand and look at them in a new way, and to understand them in a new way. So I'm not going to define format and structure for you. You know what those things are, and you have a pretty good understanding of why they're important. But I'm going to try to make the case that there's more than meets the eye and they're more important than we might think or appreciate, okay? So here's my first case, and we're going to hit several cases. Here's my first case when it comes to structure and format. I'm going to get my pen, my highlighter. There we go. Some of you are going to recognize this. Some of you that have done some of the work and in advance, you're going to recognize this. But let's play with it for a moment. I want you to give me your thoughts on why do we care about formatting? You know, why do we care about the format of a paper or the format of an email or anything like that, right? Why do we care? Let's get your thoughts first. We'll tack on some participation, right? And then let's go ahead and explore them, okay? And I'm going to go to asking questions, although Sadie's like totally on it already, all right? So let's give this a whirl. Okay, let's come back and take a look at this. So by the way, we have already hit, so I'm going to go ahead and hit these. We're going to bring this all the way up to 8. And then when it comes to, oh no, wrong one. Don't worry, we'll get that one in a moment, right? And then when it comes to awesome comments, boom. All right, there it is. We've already got to 10 and we've hardly started, right? You know the routine. Let's go ahead and email me the timestamp after class. So that is after the lecture, timestamp 8:38, right? So as I say, you want to email me the timestamp after the lecture, 8:38, and we'll make sure that you get credit for being awesome participators. So then let's go ahead and take a look at what you guys have got, because you're bang on right. Okay, so let's see. Sadie, easy to read, to the point. Yes, okay. Here's my biggest fixation. I mean, really big fixation. I need to get a soapbox so that I can bring the soapbox in and stand on it. Don't make your audience work to get the message. Don't make them work. If you're trying to communicate something and you make them work to find what you're trying to communicate, I become apoplectic when I think about this. And yet so much business communication makes people work to try to find the message, right? Okay, so you're absolutely right. Meg, easy to navigate, right? Organized and easy to navigate. Yes, whether you realize it or not, your brain and your eye, when you see a certain format, it's like a map. It automatically plugs that map sort of, construct into your head, and you know where to look to find certain information, all right? A format is a construct that makes it easy to navigate the information. Taylor, it makes you see more with it, and it should certainly communicate what you're trying to say. Yes, right? And somebody else says, and it comes to, Valeria, Val, she says, makes you more professional. Absolutely. Absolutely. Josh, I believe that format makes you look like you know what you're talking about. Yes, it certainly doesn't hurt, right? As a matter of fact, okay, another fixation of mine. Okay, we all know that spelling and grammar and now format is important. But I don't know that we really truly appreciate the extent to which it's important, because a reader, all they have to do is see some kind of flagrant format errors and a couple of misspelled words and some bad grammar, and you have shut them down. They don't care about anything you have to say. You might have something brilliant to say. You might have something brilliant, but it doesn't matter, because all of these little persnickety things kind of tell them this person isn't credible. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Josh, you're right. Val, let's see, makes information easy to understand. Absolutely. Elias, help the person find what they're looking for faster. Yes. Okay, you guys totally get it, right? And as we saw from a previous video, you look at this. What is this? Now, you know from a previous video what this is. But if you had no idea, you couldn't tell what this was just by looking at it. But you can tell what this is just by looking at it. You don't have to read a single word, and you know that this document is a resume. And yet, this document and this document contain the exact same information. The only difference is the format. That's the only difference, okay? And so none of you ever would send a hiring manager a resume that looks like this. You want to send them one that looks like this. Why? Well, you already said it. So let's put ourselves in the brain of a hiring manager for a moment. Now, we're just talking about resumes here, but the principles that I'm about to talk about when it comes to format can be applied to every format and every document, not just resumes. Even though we're talking resumes, the principles we're going to talk about can be applied across the board. Okay, so let's put ourselves in the mindset of a hiring manager. Let me tell you what's going on with a hiring manager. They freaking hate hiring, right? Hiring is stressful. It's very stressful. Any time they're spending working on hiring is time that they're not spending on actually doing the business. If they're hiring, it's because they're in need of somebody, and that is creating a lot of stress. Furthermore, when they get resumes, they get, like, I'm not making this up, they'll get 100 resumes. And they've got to look at 100 resumes. So how much time are they going to spend on each resume? I do a whole lecture series on resumes and interviews and so on and so forth. You can find it, or I'll do some later on as well. But there's a whole kind of process that hiring managers go through in looking at resumes. The first time they look at a resume, they'll give it about 30 seconds. 30 seconds. So they've got 30 seconds to decide whether or not to put your resume in the let's look at it again in a moment pile or in the trash. And then, of course, when they do decide to look at it again in a moment, they give it about 2 minutes. And then it goes into another pile of examine more closely, right? Each time they're taking it from 100 resumes down to 30 resumes, down to 10 resumes, and all that sort of stuff. You don't want to make that hiring manager work hard, right? You want it to be so stinking easy for them to find the information they need and to come up with an unequivocal yes, I want to look at this person. So with this resume up here, you know where to look. You know where to look to find information. If I were to ask just out of the blue, hey, what were some of the classes I taught at the University of Phoenix? You could find that in 15 seconds. Totally. You could probably find it in 5 seconds. You know where to look when I say, what are some of the classes I taught at University of Phoenix? The format tells you where to look, and the format does not ask you to work hard. Now, I know I'm geeking out here. I'm trying to make it sound more exciting than it is, but I find it almost magical. I find it magical that this information hurts the eyes to look at, and this is the exact same information, and yet the format makes it easy to find and navigate. And that is so important in business communication. All right. Another thing about format is it's an aesthetic. Now, you know what I mean by aesthetic, right? The look and feel. So if a room is, if something is aesthetically pleasing, so okay, so this is a what is this thing? It's a Zoom H6. It's a recorder, right? It looks kind of cool, right? And it's functional and so forth. You would say, oh, that's aesthetically pleasing. It's easy to use, it's functional, and yet it looks kind of cool, kind of modern and so forth. Format makes your information aesthetically pleasing. Okay, so format is a communication channel in and of itself. I know this gets kind of meta, I really do, but I want you to embrace the idea that, you know, the way you organize information and the way you present information is in and of itself a form of conveying information. So you guys already know this. Let me connect it with what you guys said. When you said it looks professional, looks like you know what you're talking about. You're talking about the look, the aesthetic of this. It looks professional because it looks pleasing. Okay? All right. So those are some of the big picture ideas of format and structure. Structure. I can talk. Okay? All right. Let's look at some other things. Let's look at format from the perspective of a reader. And you guys hit these points. People become accustomed to the way information is structured. Okay, let me give you an example. Does it drive you nuts that every semester you sign up for classes and you go into Canvas and every single professor, including this guy, sets up Canvas differently? Does it drive you nuts? And if so, why? Go ahead and give me a comment. We'll count these as real world examples, right? My perception is every time you log into a new Canvas with a new professor and you have to kind of figure out where everything is and how the class works, you're having to rewire your brain to find what you need easily and efficiently when you need it. And doing that is a pain in the butt, okay? It's a pain. We become very accustomed to how information is structured and delivered. So you could go to a website that you've never seen before and have a pretty good idea that there'll be a navigation bar on the left, there'll probably be a menu along the right, and then if you see 3 little bars, you know that you can click on that and get more options. These are just things that have made things more standard and therefore easy. Now, Taylor says Canvas is easy, but having different formats for different teachers makes it difficult. Exactly. Thank you. Good clarification. Good clarification. We're going to bring that over to real world example, right? Yeah, since every professor, this one included, structures the format differently, it's kind of problematic for students. And we can go more into that later, but you get the point. I like it because it feels like go with the flow, and my mind connects how it is organized. for a specific class. Yeah, well, you're different. That's all right. That's okay. You're allowed to be different. Totally. Okay, let's keep going. You know where to look. Where do I look to get the information? Easy to understand the information because of format. Conveys credibility. You guys pointed that out, right? Channel as an aesthetic. All right, we talked about these things. But there are some advantages for the writer as well. All right. Here's the biggest one for me, and that I don't take advantage of. Formats for the writer, for the creator, allow the writer to focus their effort and energy on the content as the format is already decided. So, okay, let me give you an example. If I'm writing a paper in APA, and we'll talk about formats like APA and MLA here in a moment, but if I'm writing a paper in APA, I don't have to worry about the format. It's already decided. I don't have to fix it, and it's done. All I have to do is focus on the content. Here's the thing, though. I have a really bad it's not a bad habit, Lon. Okay, guys, I like to learn. I like to experiment. I like to create. And I'm a newbie, right? So let's take, for example, what we see right here. This right now, we're in a live stream, right? I'm using OBS. It's a piece of software that allows me to do several things in live stream and so forth. All right. Now, 2 semesters ago, this is how my live stream format looked like. Last semester, this is what it looked like. And now this semester, voila, this is what it looks like. So why? Well, a few things. One is I'm new. I'm learning this stuff, right? I'm not a professional Twitch gamer who has OBS figured out at his fingertips. I need to kind of learn and see what works and so forth. I also really like being creative, and I like to find new ways to do things and to kind of establish, new aesthetics and so forth. And that's all fine. This is really good. I am grateful that I love learning and I love experimenting and I love going outside of my comfort zone and trying new things and failing and learning and doing it again. And that's what you see with all this. Here's the problem though, guys. I spend a lot of time and energy on the format of these live streams, or the format of my videos, or the format of my PowerPoint presentations when I'm doing in-class lectures. And I really wish I could just leave it the hell alone. Right? Just set it up and leave it. Set it up and leave it. But on the other hand, I actually kind of look down on professors who set it up and leave it and have been teaching it the same way for 5 or 10 years. So I'm willing to put in the time and effort, but I want you to know I oftentimes every semester just kind of flog myself and say, just get a format that works for you and leave it alone. So anyway, that's kind of my diatribe there when it comes to a writer. The nice thing about format is that it decides things that don't matter and you can just move forward. Okay, let's continue on. All right. Format and channels. Okay. Now, what I've done so far is we've talked about format in the big picture, and I kind of used resume. That was the thing I did. I used a resume as an example. I used my OBS this as an example. But here's the thing about format and channels. I want to remind you of something. And gosh, I'm going to try to use the whiteboard, but I can't go too far because I need to hang on to this microphone. So hold on a moment. Normally the wireless mic makes this better. Remember, we had purpose, decides your audience. You can't figure out who your audience is until you know what your purpose is. If you want to borrow a car, you've taken your audience down from possible 7 billion on this planet to maybe 5, right? Purpose decides the audience. Audience then decides the channel. Okay, if you want to borrow the car, there are countless channels in this world. There are countless channels. But if you want to borrow a car, then for your particular audience, there's only about 4 or 5 channels that make sense. Face-to-face, telephone, text, right? Face-to-face, telephone, text, those are the best channels to use if you're going to borrow the car. You would not print posters and hang them around the house. You wouldn't do that, right? Now, here's the thing, though. Channel decides the format, okay? So when we talk about format, and by the way, that whole thing is on the top of Canvas, that whole layout of this, decides this, leads to that. When we talk about format, the format we use is dependent on the channel. So let's talk about that for a moment. What do I mean? Well, email, text, reports, presentation, training sessions, each one uses format differently. So, for example, is it appropriate in a report, a business report, to include, abbreviations and, poor grammar and so on and so forth? No, it's not. And when I say abbreviations, I mean like, you instead of you. Hang on, I'm typing this in the comments, right? Now, you don't say just you, the letter U. You say you, the word, right? You wouldn't say LOL in a report. But now earlier, Sadie, in her comment, said, LOL, I'm different. Now, is that a violation? Is Sadie, are you in violation of good format, good business format? No. Because she's not writing a report in that comment section, in the chat section. Chat has different format, different language, different expectations, okay? So if I come back over here and we're looking at texting, I say that chat and text is pretty similar, right? I do not expect your chats to be APA. I do not expect them to be full and complete sentences. I do not expect the spelling to be perfect, okay? So we really have to consider the nature of the channel when we decide, hey, what kind of format are we going to use? I know it's weird, but actually it's a great example. It's a great example of context. Context is pretty powerful. You guys watched the video on context. As a quick reminder, physical context, temporal context, social context, cultural context. The idea is the situation in which we are in influences the communication. So for example, you guys this week, many of you have already done it, you have an email assignment to do if you're in my class. And every once in a while, I'll get somebody who will ask, hey, this email assignment, does it need to be an APA? No email in the history of God's green earth has ever had to be an APA. And you know that. Then why would you ask, does the email need to be an APA? Because the context of it being a school assignment causes us to wonder about the format. Interesting example of context. Context is so underappreciated when it comes to how it influences our expectations. But the takeaway for you guys is LOL is just fine. in text and chat. Not so fine in a report. There's a big a lot of people talk about, hey, emojis, right? Are emojis okay in an email? And I've read all kinds of things and so on and so forth. My take, yeah, they're totally fine. I love emojis. I use emojis all the time because I think they add richness to an otherwise very non-rich channel. Email has really, really low richness. Emojis add just a teeny tiny bit of richness, just like LOL does, right? So, yeah. Format is decided by the channel. Okay, let's continue. Let's talk style guides, right? As I say here, if you're anal and like to write, have I got good news for you. There are any number of style guides out there. So you guys are probably most familiar with APA, and you're probably very familiar with MLA. All right, APA is used in psychology and some of the social sciences and so. Well, no, MLA is actually more social sciences. APA is more business and psychology and so forth. Sometimes medicine. APA technically is used for medicine, although a lot of people will use MLA for it. And don't worry, we'll talk about why here in a moment. But there's others as well, right? So Chicago Style Manual, or the AP, Associated Press, or where's New York Manual of Style, New York Times. These are all style guides that entire professions will use, right? So academia is all about either APA or MLA. Journalism is all about New York Times or Associated Press or Chicago Manual of Style. That's for journalism. When it comes to business, quite often the Business Writer's Handbook will be used. And then when it comes to research papers, you're looking at ACS or Manual for Writers for Research Papers, Thesis, and Dissertations. Okay. And these things, okay. Note to myself, I need to bring, they're at the campus. I have all these things. And they're this frickin' thick, or some of them. Chicago is this thick. They get into the minutia of how to write certain things and so forth. But setting that aside for a moment, why? Well, let's take APA, for example. I'm going to come over here. We'll look at APA, use it as an example, and you can. There's my little marker there. Okay, APA. So I have a PhD in industrial organizational psychology. All right, whatever. Well, to get a PhD, you have to write a dissertation. And a dissertation is basically you have to do a study. And you have to do a literature review for this study. Now, that means you need to, when you do a master's or a PhD especially, you have to read hundreds of academic research scientific articles. Hundreds. There's no way you're going to read all those. No way. What you want is a really quick, easy way to look at an article and immediately assess whether or not you should continue. It's the same process as a resume. So APA has some very standard aspects. If I'm looking at an article and trying to figure out whether or not to use it in my research paper, I'll first read the abstract. And the abstract has the research problem that they're trying to solve for, who they're looking at, and a quick view of the conclusion. It only takes me 30 seconds to read an abstract. And if I look at the problem they're trying to research and I look at the conclusion and figure, yeah, this might be pretty good, I will then take that paper and jump all the way down to the discussion section. The discussion section is where they take the research findings and kind of talk about implementation. And if I think the discussion section is pretty good, I'll go up and look at findings, and then I know whether or not this article really is worth using in my paper and I should read it all the way through and so forth. So if I'm looking at 100 articles, I really want to have a good, quick way to find what I need. Now, the reason we have different things like MLA and APA and so on and so forth is because different professions and different academic fields focus on different things. So there you go. Now, that's academia and journalism and so on and so forth. But you know what? Companies have style guides as well. Yes, corporate style guides. These are old. And you can actually find some of these online. Microsoft Manual of Style. This is the Intel Corporate Writing Style Guide. This is version 3. I helped write this one. Back in 2005. And it's this thick. Right, but one of my jobs as an internal communications professional, what this class is all about, that's what I did at Intel. This is a real job. I helped put this together. Now, why would a corporation need a style guide? Well, for the same reason that you guys already pointed out. All right, no different. When it comes to internal business communications, it sets expectations in terms of the information required. So if you're going to write a report at Intel, you're going to include the following information. All right, it sets those expectations. So you better have a problem statement. You better have background on that. You better have 3 options, and one of those options needs to be do nothing, because that's an option, right? So that way, anybody who's looking at a report or a proposal at Intel knows exactly where to go to get the information they need, and they know what to expect. Easy to find information necessary to make decisions. You guys already pointed that out. Time is money, and gosh, in the corporate world, you're so overworked and you're so tired and you're so burned out. You do not want to work hard to find the information you need to make a decision. Don't make your audience work hard. So same thing goes with internal communications. But then there's also internal branding. All right. Internal branding is interesting. A lot of people don't really, we know what branding is for external marketing, right? So we know that branding is, okay, I have right here or right there my little logo. That's branding, right? You all know the Nike swoosh, and right here on the speaker is the name of the company and their brand. And same with the Rode mic. There it is. That's external branding. You know all about that. But branding is important internally as well. It serves a function there. So let's talk about that. Communicates elements of your message in an instant. Oh, hey, Long, get out of the way. Sorry. It's all right. Just pay attention. Okay, so communicates elements of your message in an instant. This is one of the phenomenal powers of branding, okay? Is you don't after you've been exposed to a certain message over and over and over, you don't even have to read it anymore. You see it and you know what it is. Now, if you're in my class, later on we're going to do a communications campaign and a strategic communications campaign. And one of the things I'm going to talk about is design and format. I want all your channels to have a common look and feel. I want them to be all from the same campaign. This is important because you want to communicate the message without the person having to read in detail what that message is time after time after time. You also don't want them to see two channels with the same message, but the two channels be completely different in look and feel. It confuses the audience. Is this the same thing? If you're promoting a seminar and you have two different look and feels for the same seminar, people are going to wonder, are these the same seminar or are they two at the same time that are conflicting? You see what I mean? Whereas if they're all the same look and feel, people know every time they see it, oh, that's that seminar. That's that seminar. Okay. Builds an emotional connection and creates a tribe. One of the grand powers of the workplace is collaboration. That's what this class is all about. Collaboration, teaching us how to communicate and collaborate as a team. And having a common brand and common mottos and sayings and so on and so forth creates this sort of community. And this is really powerful when it comes to facilitating and encouraging collaboration. And then builds confidence in your message. You guys pointed this out. Even internally, if you're not following a consistent brand and a consistent look and feel, it looks like you're just shooting from the hip and winging it. That doesn't create confidence in your message. Okay? So, there you go. And I just hit something, so bang. There you go. I hope this was at least somewhat illuminating. As I said, my promise was we would take a look at something that you already understand, something that is actually not too terribly interesting, but to try to look at it and appreciate it in a new way. So as you go about this course and as you go about your business communications in the workplace, I hope you bear some of these things in mind. All right? So that's all we have to go over today. As per usual, what I will do is I'll hang out here for a moment, see if there are any comments or anything. By the way, do not forget to send me the email, right? And I'm going to go ahead and take that contributors up to 10. We'll go ahead and let's do that right now. Let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so now we know. All right, so we'll go ahead and do that because you guys did well today. I'm going to hang out. If you have any comments, questions, anything like that, let me know. Otherwise, have a fantastic day. If you haven't done the email assignment, go ahead and jump on that. And we'll see you next week. Have a good one. Where is it?